So I return to this puzzle, this final puzzle, with an idea, which is... So I was thinking of lots of ways to get this piece that I'm standing on right now in front of the static platform at the beginning. And by in front of, I mean here. And the... the problem I had was, like, if this piece was there and I was trying to slide it into the gap, these would then touch and it would sink. And so the only things I considered after that were situations where my snake was there instead, and then that was there, and then the zigzag was out here, and somehow I joined them up, and I couldn't get to that position. However, I think there is a way of doing it with this piece here. Because, let me think about it a bit more. Say that was there, and this was on top of it like that. So the zigzag was in these spaces. Then the snake was here, going like upwards. So the head of the snake is here and the tail here. And this piece down here. So I could move that to the left. I couldn't move it up yet because it would touch this and then everything would sink. But so I've moved that there. I could then move the snake down that way and then move that up. Then zigzag the snake down, bring that into the space. And I haven't quite figured out what happens after that, or if that even leads to somewhere, but that is an option, I think. However, so it requires me to get into a situation where this L shape is here, the zigzags on top of it, and this piece is down there. And also, I don't know if that's possible. I feel like maybe I did that last time, but I don't remember. Oh, okay. How do I do things? What am I trying to do? I want to get that around there, which I can't do like this. Probably have to do a bit of shuffling here first, yeah. Okay, at least that's where I want it to be. Can I get these two where I want them to be? Okay, I can get that there. Can I turn around? Maybe? Maybe on that somehow. So I have to go there to move that down. Then this, I need to move to the right. Can I turn around? Why do I want to turn around? I guess so I can help this come out. Could I help that come out from anywhere else? Well, in fact, would even coming around here help me get that? I could bring that down. Is there a way of getting around that at all? Maybe? Oh. Yes? Yes. Okay, this is the situation I wanted. Now what did I want to do? I wanted to be... I wanted to be here, but... Like this, but the other direction. Is that doable? Can I turn around? Yes, I can turn around in here. Oh. So this, and then I can't move that into the gap yet, but I can do that and zigzag down. Oh, no! Wait, does my plan fail? No? Yes? Oh shit! Oh no. Was I imagining something else? How did I... Of course, that can't just slide in there because there's nothing holding it up. No. Can't do that. Ooh. Ooh. No, but I'm in the way. I can't disconnect those. Oh, no, still not, right? Oh, actually, oh no. Can it be done? So I want to do that, but I also want to be able to move that up. To do that, that'd have to be there. I suppose if... Oh, okay. If I was... here? Did that? No, disconnect again. As soon as I move that, I have to be the one connecting it. This piece to that. I'm going to move it to the left. Somehow that can play a part. Which maybe it does? Okay. Okay, now it's there. Okay, what now? This seems good. Can I get this? Right. Oh, I can't move any more that way. Can't oh, I could zigzag the other direction. Don't want to lose that. So I can turn around on this. I don't know if I need to move that back like that. It's a zigzag. Oh. Oh, yes. Have I done it? I have. Turn around. Da, 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 da. Is that it? That's all of them. Oh my god. No more red islands. What's my final piece of poetry? Although, I guess technically there's no real reason why this had to have been the final one. I could have done them in any order. In fact, I could have just like not done that one at the start and done every single one, then saved that for my last one. But that would have been terrible because they definitely get harder the further you go from the starting island. Anyway, final piece of poetry. Some are stubborn, but of congress, but imaginary sight thing old. That's it. That's the last piece of nonsensical poetry I'm going to hear. So yeah, I guess I should do some final thoughts on this game, now that I've finished it. This feels like a great accomplishment. Oh my god, just look how big this thing is. And the crazy thing is, like, technically I've just solved my game. I could just generate another one, it would be totally different and there'd be even more content. So to even feel like it's almost an illusion of completion. I've reached the end of my game, but there's, I guess, not infinite puzzles to solve because there are constraints. But there's, I guess, a lot more. I still don't have any idea kind of what the, like, from my understanding, the puzzles were generated to fit certain shapes, and like sets of puzzles were generated, and then I think when you start a game it picks from that set. So like they kind of already have been pre-generated, and then your game is a random selection from those pre-generated puzzles, maybe? But I don't know how big that set is. Like, and presumably, like maybe for each like kind of distance, which I guess is correlated with difficulty in some way, there's a set of puzzles. Maybe there's just loads of puzzles, and somehow, like, if that second number is like difficulty in some way, then there's maybe a whole bunch of 70s and there's a whole bunch of 71s and so on. And then it's sort of just based on what island you're at, it picks two from a set of, you know, like a range between 70 and 90 or something like that, and gives them to you. But then that means between those two there were probably loads more. There were loads more even with the same difficulty, and then there were loads at 71, 72 and so on. So yeah, I don't know, like, I definitely feel like I've finished something, but I guess in theory there's like no difference between me doing all of these versus doing one less or one more. Like, what makes this complete? That's kind of a weird thing about a generated game like this. Oh, interestingly, there was no like ending, seemingly. I suppose that makes sense. I wasn't really expecting anything, like what would happen. Like it could just, oh, okay, I won't say it. It could do what Steven Sausage Roll does, but even that's like pretty minor ending. I won't say it though, to avoid spoilers, because that's a great game too. So yeah, the puzzles were awesome, exactly my kind of thing. Like kind of Suckerban-ish, although different Like, I like the idea that you're standing on top of the blocks and pushing them when you walk into the edge. Like, I've not really seen that. I suppose it's a little bit like walking on top of the sausages in Steven Sausage Roll. I guess that was a little bit of a spoiler. Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, let's not ruin it now. So yeah, I've not seen something do it like this. Maybe it's not unique, but I've never seen it before. But also, having the 3 different types of platform is it's a simple set of rules, but the kind of crazy complexity of the puzzles that came out of that was like pretty amazing. And I think that's a sign of a good puzzle mechanic when you just have a basic premise and maybe I guess this game has 3 mechanics if you consider each type of bridge a different mechanic. Is that right? Rotating ones. It also throws in the electricity as well. So there's I guess 3 or 4 different mechanics. And then just from those you get a whole variety of puzzles, which is awesome. It's exactly what you want from a good puzzle game, rather than a game that just, as soon as one mechanic is stale, it's like, oh, we need another one, so let's throw it in just to change things up, but then nothing ever feels totally consistent throughout the game. I'm going to keep mentioning Steven Sausage Roll because there are definite similarities. But Steven Sausage Roll does that very well in the sense that there's basically one mechanic, sort of like the existence of the sausages, and I guess your character with the fork. Everything just meshes super well. Everything sort of I guess there are more mechanics to it than just you push sausages around, but it sort of makes sense within those constraints that you've got sausage and you've got sausages, you've got a fork, and things happen as a result of that. And nothing, it doesn't ever add anything at all. But I mean, in this game, nothing was added later on, really. Because the first 3 puzzles were just introducing the different types of bridge, right? So I had the green, I had the yellow, I had the snake. Interestingly, I had a 3 snake there, and I don't remember. I must have had another 3 snake at some point during the game, but it really didn't come up very often. Maybe just by chance, because I had my set of puzzles and it didn't include any of those. Oh, interesting. So I did have a loose static platform at the start. I don't remember noticing that at all. I guess it had no way of syncing because this would always be touching it. Yeah. And connecting it to that starting platform. Anyway, so the bridges get introduced straight away. And then from then on, how long did it take for the electricity to come in? Oh, let's keep going. Oh, there's probably a down there. Was there a down? Yeah. Man, these look so simple. I think I struggled with these at the start. When does the electricity come into it? And which way am I going? Oh, I think I went down first. I'm not sure when the earliest electricity is. Because I might find one along this route, but there's some there at the very least. So Island 8. And I guess by then that's it. The mechanics are introduced, another 8. So yeah, maybe it's immediately. Maybe it's certain that at 8 you'll get electricity? Well, probably not. I imagine however the difficulty of a puzzle is calculated, it doesn't really take into the account that there's electricity as such, but because the electricity in some way changes the state space, that will affect the difficulty. So it's not directly going, oh, at this point, I don't know what the 20, maybe if the 22 is difficulty, let's assume it is, at 22 there's going to be electricity, but it's just that once you start introducing electricity, they get more difficult, and so it puts them at around level 22 for the simplest ones, I guess. Another good property of a puzzle game is one where you feel like you're learning, and I definitely did. As I just said, like, a lot of these puzzles seem super simple now that I'm looking back at them. Yet I know I struggled. So it'd be interesting to like try some of them again and see if they really are that easy. Although I guess I sort of did that before, because this, was it here? It was this whole branch of the archipelago I didn't visit until later on because I got stuck here, I think, and then I ended up doing that. But when I did come back, suddenly I was like doing them no problem at all. So that's a sign that I was learning as I was going. I did sort of feel like that sort of capped out, like maybe around like here. In fact, that was probably around about when I went back. I got around here, I went back to those ones, but then going on from there, I didn't feel like I was really picking up new ideas. At that point, I'd kind of figured out all the things, all the kind of patterns that I had, like zigzagging through L shapes, or if I need to get a shape out in front of another one, there is a few ways of doing that. I could slide the one behind it. I could like it, as long as they have a certain width, I could slide them along, and like patterns for how can I turn around at certain points with the snake. Although I just thought, were there any puzzles that had 2 snakes in them? I don't think there were. That would have been interesting, I guess, maybe. Possibly not. Maybe nothing interesting comes out of that, so that's why they weren't included. I don't know. So yeah, at this point, I was sort of just, and this is kind of a good thing, like, at this point it was basically just a load of really difficult puzzles. Well, I guess some of them were a bit easier than others, and that's kind of gonna happen. And maybe I just happened into the solutions faster on some of them. But at this point, I was just taking everything I'd learned up until here, and just trying to apply that. Which one did I get stuck on the longest? It was actually this one here, wasn't it? What was it about that one? Maybe I didn't get stuck on that the longest, because there was the one I put like a 2.5 hour video out. Was that one? I don't remember which one it was. Yeah, I don't remember. So actually, I probably wasn't stuck on this one the longest, although, having said that, wait, was it this one? Yeah, I had to keep coming back to this one. Yeah, so maybe it wasn't the longest in terms of playtime, like actually in the game, but I spent hours with a piece of paper trying to figure this out. So I think overall I spent the longest on this one. Although I also love a puzzle game where I have to take time away from actually playing with it and, think about it. Just either with pen and paper or just without. Just like thinking about it in my head. And occasionally I'd come back to a puzzle with an idea. In fact, that happened with this last one. Come back to a puzzle with an idea, and that, suddenly it's solved. I didn't get all of the stars. In fact, I got very few of them, I think, overall. And I don't really have intention to go back and get them all. Maybe like some of the easier ones. Like, well, assuming they're a bit easier. Can I still undo? I can. That's kind of crazy. So it remembers the undo for every puzzle I've done so far. Isn't that actually like really close? Oh, I shouldn't do this. I should not do this. What have I done? Okay, let's get back. That's dangerous. Maybe when I'm like, if I actually want to do that at some point. Oh, so here's a puzzle where I dropped a piece. I wonder how many times did I do that? Because I remember being told a can't remember whether it was by the developer or by somebody else commenting, but being told that you don't. Every puzzle is designed so that you can do it without dropping pieces. In this case, I did drop one. Oh, I suppose this is easy to do it without dropping one. I could just turn around on there. See, I've learned things. I've learned things. That's nice. Yeah, so the stars. Again, I don't exactly know how they work, but it does seem like it's maybe like the... Could be the furthest... Oh, it's going to be something like the furthest distance in the state space that is possible to get to, although in some cases I hit the star on the route to the solution. But I don't know if that was just like by chance. Maybe there was a shorter path to the solution and I took a really long route and ended up getting the star on the way. Although I think I only did that once. Yeah. But yeah, I just... it's... I guess getting the stars is really no different than solving the puzzle itself, except, I guess in a way, I mentioned this before, I was saying, like, puzzles would kind of get interesting if they weren't directly from one island to another like this. Instead there were like corners in it or something. Like if the next island was over to the right somewhere, it would change things quite a lot. I guess that's kind of what the stars are. It's almost like there's an island here, and I have to get to it. In fact, that's exactly what it's like. So I'm having to solve the puzzle in that direction now instead. And if there's a star that's also kind of close to the beginning. If there's this, I guess I got that one. And I got that one. But yeah, I guess my point is if there's a star like out this direction somewhere, that's like there being an island out there and having to go around the corner to get to it. So I guess that's, yeah. The stars basically are that mechanic I was suggesting earlier. Electricity was fun. It definitely made things a little bit more frustrating, I guess. I think that's often the case with, like, when a new mechanic is introduced and that mechanic is a restriction on existing mechanics, it can always feel a little bit frustrating, but it definitely added interesting ideas to the puzzles, so I'm glad it was there overall. Yeah. What else is there to say? I did really enjoy this game. It's, as I said, it's exactly my kind of thing, and I'm gonna keep playing these kind of hardcore puzzle games going forwards. I've been very much into them since playing. I guess the thing that really started it was playing The Witness, but The Witness is a little bit different, I guess. There's kind of more to it. It's not just the... I love the puzzles in The Witness as well, but it wasn't just those puzzles in The Witness. There was more to it. But then playing Steven Sausage Roll after that really got me into playing games that are just like, here's a puzzle, everything's there, there's nothing hidden from you, just solve it, move on to the next one, no story in between, nothing to explore, just, well, I mean, I guess a little bit of exploration. I suppose the poetry added a bit of something to get to, but I wasn't really doing it for that. I was doing it because I just wanted to solve all these puzzles and complete this entire map, which, as I said, is kind of weird because, like, what does it mean to complete a randomly generated puzzle game? Oh, that's nicer. It's like a giant F. I guess it was like a giant question mark. I guess there's the kind of look and feel of the game to talk about. I mean, I don't tend to care very much with a game like this. I'm here literally to play the puzzle mechanics, and just like, I'm not even thinking about what it looks like. I'm just thinking, is this puzzle interesting? Is this puzzle fun to solve? But okay, so obviously this is very bare bones in like its presentation. It definitely has some Steven Sausage Roll influence, like with the little bits of land being kind of weird offset squares. That's like exactly the same. This is definitely even lower fidelity than Steven Sausage Roll, though. Like, all the islands are basically the same, except for some like tiny bits of decoration. And I mean, again, that's fine for me, but if there was intention to make this appeal to more people, you'd probably want a bit more variation in how things look. Like if all the islands weren't all exactly the same size, if there was more on them. But then it sort of feels like, then what's the point of the, like, if you put stuff on this island and it's not part of the puzzles, what's the point of it? So in that sense, it's nice to have it kind of clean and nothing else there. And you can say, well, there is a reason for the island to be this big. Like, oh, like, in case the argument is, if you only have things that have a purpose for the puzzles, then why bother having an island this big that I have to walk through? And there is a purpose for that, because these puzzles have to be separated by some distance. So, you know, one way to keep them separated is for the islands to be this size, and it makes it easy to generate the grid like this. So, yeah, I don't know what could be done about that. At the same time, like, kind of procedurally generated environments is also an interesting problem to solve. Like, how do you make a procedurally generated environment that doesn't look repetitive or boring or whatever? But yeah, it'd be fun to kind of see what could be done there. Maybe with the next game. What's it called? I've seen the name. Let me check. Something about a robber and glue. I'm Robber, You're Glue. At least that's the title so far, I think. So yeah, by the same developer. He's working on another game where you are a robber stealing furniture from houses. But the furniture is covered in glue, and the robber, for some reason, walks around. Maybe his arms are glued to his body or something, and his legs are glued together, but he walks around by like falling flat on the floor and then on top of his head and so on. He's basically he basically is just a cuboid that's rolling around, and when he touches the furniture it sticks to him and he has to try and pick it all up and leave. I think that's the mechanic. I haven't given it a try yet, but I will at some point. But yeah, that's still in development. That'd be fun. But yeah, maybe, in fact, I guess I've already seen with that the furniture is kind of more interesting and varied, and I don't think for any mechanical reason, it just adds, you know, interest to the way it looks. So that'll be good. Yeah, I don't know. But then, as far as I can tell in that game, I think the puzzles themselves are within a kind of city of all these houses that you have to go and rob. And I wonder if things could be done to make that interesting. Like I maybe he's already thought of these things, but like, what if, like, to get to the next house you have to do some kind of interesting maneuver with your character? Because that was kind of an interesting thing in Steven Sausage Roll. Sometimes getting to the next puzzle wasn't as easy as just walking over to the puzzle. You had to do something, and that's something you had to do to get there was just as much part of the kind of movement mechanics of the character. So yeah, maybe there's some things you can do there. And then as part of that, because to get from one puzzle to the next, there's some obstacles. Those obstacles can be interesting, like in the sense that they're kind of part of the world in some way. They're not just a block with no colour, or an island. It's just grey with a brick on it. But yeah, again, as I said, like when I'm playing puzzle games, it's not really what I'm thinking about. But it certainly would add something, I think. I'm glad there was no music. It would have been extremely frustrating if there'd been music. Unless, of course, it'd been like very ambient kind of music. But yeah, it was fine without any. Just the sound of the ocean is very pleasant. I guess that's something that was very similar in The Witness. So Stephen Sosterol did have music, right? Yeah, it had the procedurally generated music, but that was very kind of like, there wasn't a melody to it. It was just it wasn't too distracting. But in The Witness, like often you'd just be listening to the sound of the ocean or kind of the wind in the trees or something like that. I can't remember if there was wind. Maybe there wasn't. So yeah, in a sense, it's a bit like that, and that's very nice. It makes for a great experience solving puzzles. Anything else to say? Maybe. Back to like kind of the puzzle design, or I guess not puzzle design, or procedurally generated puzzle design. I am seriously impressed. When I started playing it, I was not convinced that these puzzles were procedurally generated at all. I believed that there was some generation of some sort, but not that basically the whole game, like every puzzle, the order of them is entirely procedurally generated, and that is super cool. Because I guess before this has actually changed my mind about something, which is like, can procedurally generated puzzle games work? And the answer is totally yes, and this has proven it. Before I would have been like, puzzle games really benefit from having a designer, decide how, one puzzle leads to the next. And there's so many things that have to be like, so many things that a puzzle game designer has to think about to make a puzzle game good. But it seems like the developer of this game has managed to automate all of that, automate the design of a good puzzle game, and has done it very well. There's definitely places where I can see that maybe if this had been hand designed, it would have been slightly different. Like a random puzzle is suddenly weirdly easy, or I don't know that the puzzles necessarily led from one to, like, the difficulty definitely increased, but it's not like I did one puzzle and the next puzzle was like, oh, that idea I just learned in that previous puzzle is exactly applicable to this one. It would definitely come up later, but it not immediately, or yeah, it basically didn't feel like the generation of like which puzzles came in which order cared much about this thing you just learnt. Let's kind of do that again. But then I guess it's in this kind of set of mechanics, it's hard to say what is something that you've learnt. Like, the things I was learning were kind of common movements, which I like could be entirely, like, other people might think of it entirely different to the way I did. So I don't know. But yeah, the difficulty scaled very well though, in general, like, other than the odd one that was like easy, which is actually kind of nice to if you've got a load of difficult puzzles, to then have a few that you can get done in 15 minutes or whatever, and then you go back to the ones that take hours. Yeah, so in fact that probably works out quite well, even if it wasn't a super smooth increase. It was kind of nice to have breaks of easy puzzles. Yeah, so basically I'm impressed. I'm very impressed by such a game being procedurally generated, and look forward to seeing other games like it. Although I don't know how many developers are making this kind of game. Hopefully more will, because I'm definitely intrigued now. And it's made me think a lot about how similar things could be done or how it could be improved upon or whatever. So yeah, I hope I see more. Yeah, basically this was a great game. I loved it. I mean, I did the whole thing. I wonder how many people, I guess it depends on what size world you generate, but I wonder how many people have done this many. Because I imagine, I mean, I don't know how well the game sold in general, but then as a percentage of the people who did buy it, how many people actually persist to the whole thing. It definitely helped that I was recording this, because it was kind of a motivating. It'd be nice to finish off the game for the sake of recording it. Like maybe I would have stopped earlier if I hadn't been. Maybe, it's hard to say. But then I also stopped in other games that I ended up loving as well, so yeah. But yeah, I guess I don't know, I imagine I'm one of quite few people who have done this many Pontibus puzzles. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I love it. It's great. Shall I just end this by disconnecting? So I've gone out there, uncovered all the poetry, solved all the puzzles, and now I'm just going to come back home and disconnected the bridge. In fact, that'll do. Goodbye.